Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Monday Night Must See TV with the Hudson Valley Squares. We've got a slightly different lineup tonight. So we are missing Chris Allo, who lost power at his house. We are missing Nick Franco, who is working tonight. And we're missing Sydney, who is also working today. So in their place, we've got Rich Catino. We've got John Gaffney from Lair, the Alchemist, and Mr. Chris Caffery from TSO and Savatage. Welcoming Butch Jones, Lynn Versace in the center square, Ryan Scow, and Steve Keeler. So tonight we are going to revisit once again. We like to do this at least once a month. Favorite albums of a specific year. So today we're going to go back in time to that magical year of 1979. And I've asked everybody to pick out 3 to 5 albums that are their favorites from that year. Could be any genre, studio or live album. It's totally up to whatever they want to do. So I'm going to have the new guy go first. John, run through your picks. Let's hear what you got, what you like about these albums, and whatever you want to say about it.
All right. Am I going through my 5 picks or just?
Yep, go through them. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, my first pick was Frank Zappa, Chic Your Booty. I am a huge Zappa fan, and Zappa's catalog is so immense that it can be quite intimidating for the uninitiated. But this is an album that I often recommend to people who are just getting into Frank, along with like Apostrophe and maybe Roxy and Elsewhere. But this is a great album because it showcases a lot of different aspects of Frank's stuff. It's got a lot of his melodic stuff like Bobby Brown, Dancing Fool. It's got some of his great linear, angular guitar work on here, the Shake Your Booty Tango, Rat Tamango. His band is incredible. It's actually a, quote, live album. I put it in quotes because he would take parts of one show, then add another part from another, a guitar solo from here, and then heavily overdub the stuff in the studio. So it's just an incredible album. It's got his great guitar playing, great musicians in his band, of course. You've got Adrian Belew, who would go on to be with King Crimson, and Terry Bozzio, who would go on to be in Missing Persons. So Frank Zappa, Chic Your Booty.
Love me some Bozzio.
Yep.
Yeah, amazing, right? There's actually a song on this record called The Rubber Shirt, which is a bass and drum solo. But the crazy thing is that he recorded these at 2 completely different times, 2 completely different songs, yet they somehow work together. It's insane. He called it xenochrony, this sort of taking 2 completely different things, putting them together. Absolutely amazing. All right, should I go on, or are we going to go?
Keep going. Yep, go ahead.
Okay, number 2 for me was Rainbow, Down to Earth. Huge Richie Blackmore, my favorite guitar player. I love all eras of Rainbow. Graham Bonnet, one of my favorite rock singers. Everything Graham Bonnet gets involved in, he takes the songcraft to a whole nother level. I just did a video on my channel of my 10 favorite Rainbow songs, and Eyes of the World was number 3 for me from this record, after Stargazer and Gates of Babylon. So that's how highly I think of this record. Eyes of the World is incredible. Don Airey's keyboard playing, Richie Blackmore slashing and burning all over this album.
Which is like, come on, we're waiting for it. We're waiting for it. Who's
Cozy fucking Powell.
Cozy Powell. Cozy Powell is absolutely amazing. Of course, I love Cozy Powell. Fast driving rockers on here. No Time to Lose, Danger Zone, Lost in Hollywood, Love's No Friend of Mine. It's kind of the Mistreated of the Rainbow era. Some people look down on this record a little bit for Since You've Been Gone, the Russ Ballard, but I've got a soft spot for melodic hard rock, so I love it. All Night Long is also really cool.
And I love how your top 3 Rainbow songs all have Cozy on them.
Yes, hey, he's, what can you say?
How could they not?
He's absolutely incredible. All right, Riot, Narita. This is actually their second album, and Riot is my favorite new wave of British heavy metal band from Brooklyn. They sound like they should have been part of the new wave of British heavy metal. Absolutely incredible. They were popular in Japan, got a lot of hard breaks with their record labels here in the US, never really broke out big. The album that came after this is the one that everybody kind of knows them for, Fire Down Under, which is an incredible record. But this album is also great. Mark Riel's guitar playing is absolutely fantastic. The A title track, instrumental is totally cool. Mark Rial's guitar playing great. Guy Speranza, his vocals are amazing. Tons of great songs on here. Waiting for the Taking, 49er, Kick Down the Wall, Road Racer, incredible. And this is their second album. 1977 was Rock City, and that is an incredible album too. So ahead of their time. Always loved Riot. All right, we're doing 5?
If you got them,
If I got them, all right.
If you only got 3, whatever you want.
Cheap Trick.
He got 5. He's
Dream
got
Police. Hey, I watched the 1982 video. I was ready. I saw that everybody had a bunch of extra picks, so I wanted to make sure I was ready. When I think of the 70s, I think of Kiss and Cheap Trick. And I think part of that has to do with, has anybody seen the movie Over the Edge that came out in 1979?
Yes.
Great movie, 70s teen angst. It's got a lot of Cheap Trick in it. Always loved Cheap Trick. The title track of this is just great. This was pushed back a little bit because of Budokan was such a success. Need Your Love, they actually played during the Budokan tour, which landed up on this album. Remember when bands used to do that, play songs before the album came out? The title track is amazing. Love the middle section of this. Bunny Carlos is one of my favorite rock drummers. He's kind of a hard rockin' Charlie Watts. Robin Zander, amazing voice. I'll Be With You Tonight. The house is rocking, fast driving rockers. Cheap Trick always had kind of a 50s sensibility to them for me, a little bit like kind of a Weezer of the 70s. And so I Know What I Want kind of has that 50s cool rock vibe to it, and Voices is an amazing ballad. So, all right, I'll leave it there at 4.
Good choices. And I just talked the show I was just doing before this one. I was talking about that album as well. So very cool.
Oh.
All right, Mr. Caffrey.
Yes, sir.
What do you got?
All right. Well, I don't even have any notes, but that year is very, very, very memorable. I mean, for a lot of different reasons. Number one, I started taking guitar lessons in that year, and I started playing guitar, but I also went to my first concert ever. And it's a tough one because there's a band that had 2 records out that year that could both go in my top ones, but because it was the one they were releasing the week that I saw them, I'm going to go with Unleashed in the East with Priest instead of Hellbent for Leather, because that record, I never knew who Judas Priest was until I saw them opening for Kiss that night. And the next day I bought Unleashed in the East in the record store. So that record, I just love top to bottom. I don't think there's, everybody always says you can't pick a live record as your favorites from a band, but that one always has to be there. And
well, Chris, you're safe anyway, brother, because Hellbent and Stained Classic both came out in 78.
No, actually, there was a release of Hellbent
in the States.
in January of
Yeah.
Hellbent was January of 79. So
in the States, right? Because it was Hellbent, and over there was Killing Machine. So that's technically right.
But yeah, so it's there's a lot of live in that year. I mean, the Strangers in the Night record came out that year. That's one of my favorite lead guitar playing records ever. I mean, I could just listen to that at any given time when I want to realize just how much I suck on the guitar, put that record on. It's just like Shaker. He kills me. It was funny you mentioned Kick Down the Walls from Riot. I used to play that song in my club bands when I was a kid. And there's also another song from a record the year I'm going to put in there. And it was really hard for me to pick more, but I mean, because there's so many records I like in this year, it's crazy. But The Highway to Hell had Walk All Over You, which I used to do in my club band when I was like 13 too. But that, Highway to Hell was just really, really special. I mean, AC/DC was about to take over the world in the form they had. They were really getting big, and my management with Heaven and stuff, they were working with them back then, and they were told me what was coming next, and they were so big that they had when they had Back in Black come out, that record was just so strong. They just exploded even further than anybody thought. But they, Bon Scott stayed alive. I really think that record still would have been pretty much as big. I mean, they were just ready to do that, and they had those songs pretty much, and the music was all there. But it's a really tough one. I mean, seeing Kiss that year, even though Dynasty is not my favorite Kiss album ever, it's like it still came out in that year. And there's just so many different records that came out that year. The Triumph record and What else?
It's a lot.
Yeah, there's a ton. I mean, were we just lucky that so many great records used to come out every year?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
We had a thing. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
That
I
was
think
the
it was
decade.
the day I saw that Kiss concert, which was 9/11 was in that year. I think that's the year, the date that Foreigner released Head Games, you know. So it's like there were just so many great rock records that came out that year, rock and metal records, and it just goes on. So I think, but those are probably, you know, my favorites. I could just continue going on and saying, oh, Van Halen too, and I could go through the whole year, but it's a tough one, you know. When you look back to that year, I don't, you know, remember being into every single one of them at that period of time, but every one of those records I just named became favorites of mine throughout time. So you know, and definitely gonna name the ones I named and leave it at that. It's just a great year of music.
Yeah, absolutely. So many good ones. All right, Rich Catino, your picks.
All right, so 79, I was 8. So that's probably when I just started absorbing music that was being played in the house. So I remember my mom and my dad always playing like they had a different variety that they would play in the house, but I'm looking at all the albums that came out that year. So Michael Jackson, Off the Wall, I remember hearing a lot. Donna Summer, Bad Girls, they loved their disco. Earth, Wind and Fire, Fleetwood Mac, Tusk, Kool and the Gang, Ladies Night. What else came out that year? So much stuff. Like I said, they always played different things, but they liked their disco. Foreigner had games, no hard rock though, or heavy metal. They didn't listen to that stuff. But I think from hearing all these different types of music and the bands, that's where I got my like for the melody, which is why I like a lot of melody in my hard rock. So one of my favorite albums is Dynasty for that reason, especially that influence from the 70s disco from that year, which is in this album a lot. And I always liked I Was Made for Loving You. 2000 Man, never was really a fan. Sure Know Something is one of my favorites. And that was a single too. But I got a whole new appreciation for it when they did it unplugged for MTV. That was great. What else? Charisma, Magic Touch, Hard Times is probably my favorite Ace song, one of them. So yeah, this has definitely got some, you know, staying power for me. Not all of it, you know, X-Ray Eyes.
That's my feelings on it. Not all of it.
Yeah, like X-Ray Eyes, Save Your Love, like I said, Dirty Living's okay. So there's like 2 or 3 that I can pass, but the rest of it, I still like it. I still play it. I got to pick an obvious one, Van Halen 2.
Oh, yeah.
Obvious, you know, Van Halen. I got to go with Van Halen 2 because when I first started hearing these bands, hearing all the lighter stuff in the house, this was like, it just like blew my mind. So this hard rock at the time was, you know, a big favorite of mine.
Butch, I got to say, your stone face isn't fooling anybody.
For what? The Van Halen 2 or the Dynasty?
The Van Halen 2.
No, Van Halen 2.
I don't think it's the Dynasty.
He's not picking Dynasty, trust me.
But even if Dance the Night Away comes on the radio, I still don't play it.
Edward's on Van Halen 2.
Right, Edward, exactly. What else? Killing Machine, Judas Priest. Well, Hellbent for Leather. Delivering the Goods, Rock Forever, Hellbent for Leather. I never really liked Take on the World. I always thought it was okay. Green Manalishi, Burning Up. Before the Dawn is probably my favorite ballad that they ever did.
That's a good one.
So I really like that. Running Wild, Evil Fantasies. So yeah, this is another one. When, you know, I'm 8, 9 years old, you know, this was huge for me hearing these 3 albums. Even though the Kiss was, you know, more disco-y and lighter than the albums that came before, still enjoyed it. And lastly, go with Scorpions' Love Drive.
Another one.
Always really liked this too. One of my favorites. This has, I put on my glasses so I could read it. Loving You Sunday Morning. Another Piece of Meat's Heavy. I really like that one. Always Somewhere is nice. Coast to Coast. The title track, Holiday, is a great ballad.
Oh, my favorite.
Such a great ballad, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, these are 4 of my favorites from
I'm old
79.
enough that I saw that tour, Rich. I saw the Love Drive tour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, wow, that's cool. Another
Shaker is
piece,
great
another
on
song
that.
I used to do in my club band when I was like 13. That's another one. It's like an
Yeah.
old set list coming out every time someone talks.
Yeah,
Very
so
cool.
that's four of my favorites from that year. Like I said, the year I started really absorbing the music that was played in the house and getting into the hard rock and the metal.
It makes you wonder if Schenker had stayed with the band, you know, where it would have gone, because his playing on, I love Coast to Coast. That's a fantastic
Yeah.
instrumental, and Schenker's
Yep.
melodic style of guitar playing just adds so much to those melodic songs.
Do we know, how much he contributed? Did he contribute like everything to this album? Every
No,
No,
I
he
think he's on
didn't.
like 5 of the songs, the solos, I think.
I don't even think
Yeah.
he's on that many. There's a key
No?
on it that says it. I think he might be on 4.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is 4.
Because sometimes the credits are not always correct.
It's Coast to Coast for sure.
Another piece
Another
of meat,
piece of
maybe.
meat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love Drive.
Holiday, I
Love
think,
Drive.
right?
Yeah. And God,
Holiday, maybe?
I don't remember the last one.
Although he
Yeah.
insisted he wrote Holiday and he doesn't get credit for it because he complains
Yeah.
about it every night on stage.
It's hard for me to read it in liner notes. It's really small.
Yeah. All right, our center square, Lynn, what do you got for us?
Oh, I got
Oh,
I got a thing or two. So you know what? I actually picked Donna Summer because I'm a dork and I'm like a closet 80s disco queen. So I love Donna Summer. So I definitely picked that because Bad Girls and Hot Stuff. Like
Well,
I
if
said,
you're
Dim on the
80s,
Lights.
if you're an 80s disco
Yeah.
queen, this is 1979. What the fuck?
I like that kind of music, asshole.
You
See?
said 80. This is 79.
That's what
I know,
influenced me
but I'm
to like
80s,
Dynasty,
like-
Lynn,
You know what? I say when I started, guys, that I was not going to swear. Didn't I say that? And
You
then
did.
Butch speaks, and what happens? I get all fired up.
He has
didn't
that
take long.
effect
Didn't take long.
on everybody.
No, it did not take long. He gets me from 0 to 100.
That's why he's been so quiet up until now. He's like, can't wait for you to start talking.
totally, totally bastard. All right. Anyway,
Steve,
so
cursing has already started. See, you walk away and
I
it
know. I'm
just started.
sorry. I tried. I
First
did
thing
really
to
good
say
the
is-
first couple people.
You're a 70s disco queen, not an 80s disco.
Whatever. I was born in 71. I too was
Disco was in
eight.
the 70s, not the 80s.
So,
Can I
Lynn,
finish
do you-
my picks,
Lynn, do you
please?
like
You can
that?
finish
Do you like
now. I'm
Dynasty,
sorry,
Lynn?
Lynn.
I do like Dynasty, and I do
Yeah.
like I Was Made for Loving You, and I like to, I like some things that people don't
What was
like.
that? What was that?
You know the thing. You know the thing.
Thanks.
I like to do some things.
Oh boy.
All right. Anyway, all right. So forget the Donna Summer. It's in there. Then I did pick Head Games because Lou Gramm is one of my favorite singers ever. I fucking love that guy. And Dirty White Boy, Head Games,
Great album.
Love on the Telephone, Women, and Rev on the Red Line. Not that I can sing because I can't, but I fucking Farner,
a
September
great album.
1979.
It is a great album.
Loved it. Loved
The
it.
last great album they did.
Yeah.
Whatever. I still love him. And then I did pick Journey Evolution because I love Journey.
Nice.
And Steve Smith is freaking unbelievable.
I was
Saw
gonna
him
pick
a
that
couple
too.
of years ago at the Iridium. Fucking guy's an amazing, amazing drummer.
Yeah.
Love him. So Love and Touch and Squeeze It was also inspired by Sam Cooke's song, Nothing Can Change This Love, which was kind of cool. I found out.
Well,
City
you know
of the
what, though?
Angels.
Let me just stop you for a second.
What,
If you
babe?
think about that, Steve Perry, if you've never really noticed that before, you listen to Steve Perry, especially in that when he got in the band in that late 70s, early 80s, up to like Escape in that era there, you hear Sam Cooke so much in his
Yeah.
vocals.
Yeah.
You know what? I realized that when I was researching this week for actually this topic, because I hadn't really made the connection before I kind of, me, I like kind of take notes because my brain's not like yours. So I, I kind of researched that this week and I was like, holy shit, that's pretty amazing. But what I really liked about this was, Just the Same Way You Love Me was actually sung by Greg Rowley and Steve Perry, right? Which was cool. But a little fun fact is Greg Rowley was the singer of Santana and Journey, and he was inducted in the Hall of Fame with both bands, which I thought was pretty freaking cool because,
Somebody else had that same honor.
And I'm sure you're going to tell me. Give
Well,
it
you
up.
should know. You're talking about the band.
Yeah.
I think I know who it is.
Oh,
but
Steve Perry, Steve Smith,
No,
Steve
No.
Smith,
Perry
no.
was in Santana.
Neil Sean.
There you go.
Oh
Hey,
my God.
Yeah, he was in
Sean was
both.
in
Not
Santana.
many people left, for Christ's sakes.
Well, they started Journey together, those two guys. So
Yep.
Anyway, that was a nice fun fact. And so I also picked Frank Zappa, Joe's Garage, because I freaking love Frank Zappa. So I remember smoking weed at the bottom of the corner, you know, when I was a teenager, because that's what you just did back then. And it was a hysterical record. It was freaking really funny. And Catholic girls at the CYO. I mean, I think that's why I was afraid to send my kids to the CYO. It's from that song. Wet T-shirt night, which I may or may not have been involved in. Why does it hurt when I pee? And it's so funny because I actually remember being on someone's tour bus, and I won't mention whose. We actually sang, like, the girls were coming on the bus, and I'm just hanging out with some guys that were on tour, and we actually were singing the song Cruise Slut, which, you know, don't you make a fuss, get on the bus. It's so funny. Like, how could you not like Frank Zappa? He's really good.
Biting
And
my
you know
tongue
what?
so
Dale
hard.
Bozio, Terry's wife, she actually sang, she was Mary in that. There's like a 3-part rock opera. She actually was Mary in that thing. And she actually sang, she did the vocals on Cruise Slut. She did the speaking part, which I thought was kind of cool. You know, and Vinnie Colaiuto played drums, which she played with Jeff Beck and Herbie Hancock, which I thought was kind of cool.
And
And my
Megadeth.
last but not, what, babe?
And played on Megadeth, on a Megadeth record too.
Ooh, see that I didn't know. See, your useless information is good to me. And my favorite is Judas Priest, Unleashed in the East, because Rob fucking Halford, I love him, right? We all know that. Exciter, Running Wild, The Ripper, Green Metalishi, which was actually a Fleetwood Mac tune, right? Which actually, when I listened
I
to
didn't
it,
bring any toys tonight.
no, which actually it's pretty cool because Peter Green, right, who kind of co-founded Fleetwood Mac back in the day, I was listening to it and it's nice, like Floor Tomish, you know, it was kind of cool. It was a cool vibe back then. And Diamonds and Rust, Genocide,
Binks.
Victim of Changes, Les Binks, fucking A, I didn't get there yet, but thank you. But Joan Baez wrote that song about Bob Dylan, Diamonds and Rust. Like, really? Bob Dylan of all people? Like, I guess he was all right back then, but anyway, freaked me out. But my honorable mentions, just because I'm a dick, is Down to Earth, Rainbow, Cozy fucking Powell, Van Halen 2, Edward, AC/DC, Highway to Hell, and Butch is gonna like this, Regatta de Blanc, the Blanc, the
There you
Police, Walking on the Moon.
It's a great one. That's a great album.
I know it is.
Yep.
And we play that song to each other all the time.
Walking on the Moon.
Walking on the Moon. So
You
those
know-
are my picks for
What do you think?
1979. There was 9 million more records. I was
Oh, there's
8,
so
but
many.
and most of those things I actually had on 8-track from my older siblings. So
And you could have picked like 4 or 5 more Frank Zappa albums. He released Orchestral
Totally.
Favorites, Sleep Dirt, Joe's Garage, Shake Your Booty. I think there's one, because he had just gotten his own record label
Yeah.
in 79. He had left Warner
Yeah.
Brothers, had Zappa Records, and he just went crazy. He was
He
putting
went
out
off.
an album every other month.
he did, you know, and my thing, but he's super talented. I mean,
Oh,
he
yeah.
was funny. You know, I think people, I think you either loved him or hated him. You know, like you either got him or you didn't. I
Mm.
feel
He
like,
was a
you know,
misunderstood genius. He
Yeah.
has a lot of
Yeah.
Yep.
right
Yeah.
over a lot of people's heads. Yeah.
for sure.
The
For sure.
documentary that
And
just came
when
out.
you were 10, you really didn't know what the hell he was talking about.
Right.
You laughed at some of the songs, but a lot of
Yeah.
those songs at 10 and 11 years old, you had no idea what he was writing about.
No, I
Like
didn't.
most-
But when I got to like 13, 14 and started smoking a little bit of pot back then, I was kind of like, oh,
But you know what?
that's what the,
That was what was awesome about the 70s. Most stuff went over our heads as a kid. And then you
Yeah.
get older, you're like, oh, that's what they're talking about.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now
That's
it
why having the
sounds-
wrong lyrics never mattered, because you didn't know what they meant anyway.
Exactly. Exactly.
I know nothing about singing wrong lyrics.
No, not at all.
But you know what? That pales in comparison to the rap that my kids listen to today. Really, I mean, the stuff that they were singing about that everyone wanted to protest back then. I
Mm,
listened to some of the rap stuff, and I'm like, seriously? Now this should be banned.
right.
But that's okay. But those are my picks.
Cool. Thanks, Len. Good choices there. Butch, what do you got for us?
I'm going to do mine differently. So I'm going to give you some honorable mentions first.
Of course you are.
So we're going to go with Motorhead
Knew that was
Overkill,
coming. Yeah.
because it's Lemmy and Filthy Phil and Fast Eddie. We're going to stay with that and give you another Motorhead with Bomber, because it came out the same year. Two fantastic ones. Then we're going to go to the pick that everyone has had so far, pretty much one way or another. Allegiance in the East, you have to, because Les Binks. It's just awesome. And for me, honestly, like Chris was right, and I was wrong about that, is that Hellbent in America was released in 79. To me, it's always 78, because even though it was Killing Machine, it came out then, so I always consider that to be 78.
Didn't they record that when they were on the Hellbent tour in Tokyo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple songs that made it from Hellbent onto.
Actually,
Unleashed.
yeah, there's a UK version and the Tokyo version got extra bonus tracks.
Extra songs, yep.
Yeah.
And then this one that I got to try to finagle to get in there right, if you guys can see it, is Aerosmith Night in the Ruts.
Yep.
Which
Nice.
honestly, depending on the day, this is either my number 1 Aerosmith album or my number 2 with
Ooh.
rocks, back and forth between rocks. This album, I think maybe I probably love it so much because most people don't like it. It's heavy, it's under the radar, it's just a great fucking drug infested Aerosmith.
Got so much attitude, man.
Oh,
Send it to me later.
it is tremendous.
I have to re-listen
okay,
to it.
and I'll roll through my 5. So number 5 for me, 79.
Yeah.
Can't go
Yay.
wrong with Love Drive, my favorite Scorpions album of all time. I remember buying this album at Book and Record in Wappinger Falls, New York with my
Oh my
mom.
God.
And I
Book
remember
and Record.
I didn't get into Sunday Night. I didn't get into Scorpions until I think 82 after Blackout. But I remember I was looking for this cover, and they had this one and they had the replacement one. And I remember buying it and putting it in the bag and hiding it from my mother so she wouldn't see the cover.
I was going to say, my
Oh
mother
my
would be
God.
like, you are
You
not.
had to have this cover.
Yeah.
This is
that's
the
the one
safe
I have,
cover for your
That's the thing, I
parents.
couldn't have
Love it.
Once I saw that this existed, I had to have this.
Nice.
Number 4, I always joke about my 4-way tie for the greatest live album of all time, the one that no one ever talks about. Pat Travers, Go For What You Know.
That's a great fucking album.
I tell anyone that will listen to me, if you don't own this record, this album is a must own. Pat Travers had arguably the best hard rock band of the late 70s.
Yeah.
Tommy Aldridge on drums, which honestly, Tommy Aldridge is my number 2 behind Cozy. This, besides this one and the other album that's one of my 4 live albums, is Ozzy Speak of the Devil. Tommy Aldridge does his best drumming on this album and Speak of the Devil.
Yeah.
Anyone that doesn't understand
out.
Tommy Aldridge, because Aldridge is one of those
Love.
guys that played on a lot of albums, but he doesn't seem to play on a lot of the studio albums of the bands. And when he does, like on the Whitesnake stuff, he's so restrained that you don't know it's Tommy Aldridge.
He's a
But you
live
listen
guy.
to-
Yeah, he's a live guy.
Butch,
Oh my
is
God,
he
but-
is he a Neanderthal on that album? Is he just balls out on
He's
that
all
album?
over. He's Tommy
Yeah.
Aldridge.
That whole band is so
Fucking
cooking.
That record was
I
great.
love him.
It was
That's
like
like one of the
5
greatest
songs.
live albums that should have been a double.
Yep.
It was like
Love
5
him.
songs on that. 5 songs on that record were in my live sets when I was a kid.
It's brilliant.
I had a lot of them getting better. They were all in the live set.
That's awesome. And I got Travers to sign
Nice.
this years ago when he came to Poughkeepsie in the Chance, and I got him to sign that. And people that know me pretty well know I love Pat Thrall. Textbook.
Yep.
Oh, gee, look what's number 3. This album, you couldn't expect this to show up
I
at
knew
all.
that was coming. That's
So,
why I didn't say it in my
Black
honorable
Rose,
mention.
Thin Lizzy, Gary Moore. Speaking of Tommy Aldridge,
Oh, shit.
the greatest studio album Aldridge ever played on is Gary Moore's Dirty Fingers. That album, he plays like Tommy Aldridge. There's no filters. It's like, do what you do. And it's just like those live albums, Aldridge just destroys. But this is one of Thin Lizzy's magnum opuses. This, and Gary Moore is all over this fucking record. And Phil, this is just a phenomenal cover to everything that's inside it. That's
That
number
would be
3.
a really good tattoo, actually. I really like that cover.
Well, Axl Rose actually has that as a tattoo.
Fuck Axl Rose. I meant for me. There you go.
But you know what? I think it's cool that he loved Lizzie and has it as a tattoo. So
Oh,
that's actually cool. So
Everybody watching, Lynn said that. I didn't.
I knew he was going to pick that, so I didn't even mention that album. I left it alone.
Yeah.
So my 1 and 2 from 1979. I've told the story forever, so many times, so I won't get into it. But My mom bought me 2 albums at Corvette's department store in New York City for my 12th birthday in 1979. And these 2 albums, I had never heard a single note on either one of them. When I got them, when I got home, they completely changed my life. UFO, Strangers in the Night, like Chris said, arguably, again, and my 4 favorite live albums of all time.
Yeah.
Shanker
That's great.
is a hard rock textbook, guitar playing. This is it. The tone, the wah, everything. The songs are phenomenal. Whether some of it wasn't live or not doesn't make a difference.
What is it like a good wah?
It's, well, especially the way Shanker used it, because Shanker didn't use it as a wah, he just used it as a filter.
He had the old Clyde McCoy Vox.
Exactly.
He used to use. I have one of them.
Oh my God.
Late 70s Clyde McCoy, and he would sit it down and just leave it.
Yep. That's
That
worth a
was
lot
it.
of money right now.
Funny.
And gee, I wonder what could be number 1 for me.
Yeah, right.
So
Yeah.
again, my mother got me this and Strangers in the Night when I was 12 years old. And I went home to my friend's house and listened to them both and just sat there with my jaw on the ground, not understanding what was happening, what I was listening to. And we got to do a little where the hell is he?
Edward.
Trying to get
No,
Edward in there
other
with
way.
light all over him, whatever. I don't know. All you got to do is listen for that album. I love it. That's my favorite album of all time, period. But for me, all you got to do is start with the 3rd song, Somebody Get Me a Doctor, and just go from Somebody Get Me a Doctor to Light Up the Sky. I mean, the whole record is phenomenal, but just from Somebody Get Me a Doctor to Light Up the Sky. And if that doesn't put a complete grin on your face for that, in Van Halen terms, it's probably 10 minutes for 5 songs. But
Yeah.
it's just, oh my God, to this day, it makes me smile every time I hear something from that record. It means everything. So there is no other 2 albums that could ever be my 1 and 2 from 1979 besides Van Halen 2 and UFO, Strangers in the Night. So that was easy.
And of course, you smile every time you hear Edward or Gary. So
I do. Yep.
just you know,
They mean a lot. And that record in particular was tremendous.
Very cool.
nice.
All right, so Mr. Keeler is going to give his picks and Chris Allo's tonight, and then Ryan's going to give his and Nick's. So
All right, so
Sweet.
I guess I'll start off with Mr. Allows, the without power tonight. So he's actually only had 3 picks he gave me tonight. His number 3 pick coming in was 2 actually EPs by the Misfits. Night of the Living Dead and Horror was his number 3 high. His number 2 was Rainbow Down to Earth.
okay.
And
Yeah.
his number 1, I was taken back by it because it was nothing anyone's mentioned so far. A band called Sorcery with an entitled Stunt Room, which is
Oh, that's really good, actually.
way under my radar. I don't know anything about them, so maybe
I don't
Pete
even
could
know that
fill it
band.
out.
That's a really good album. Yeah,
Yeah, I'll check that out.
yeah.
Where were they from, Pete?
I believe they were from New York. I think they were a Long Island band, if I remember correctly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. And I guess I can do.
Petrelli in it at all? Petrelli was probably in the band then. If they're from Long Island, I must have played there at least a couple months.
So I guess,
every band in Long Island needed Al to fill in at some point.
So I guess for my picks tonight, I'll zoom through 5. Butch mentioned 2 of them already, and I'm glad someone mentioned them because I was like, I know Scott was going to if he didn't. Were the Motorhead releases from that year, Overkill and Bomber, and actually they were. I guess that's 6. Actually, I'm sorry. Number 4, I'm going with AC/DC, Highway to Hell. Number 3, I got my prop, Pink Floyd, The Wall. No one's mentioned that one. That was a pretty big one for that year. Number 2, Scorpions Love Drive, and my number 1, How Do You Not Go?
Exactly.
Pretty
Exactly.
easy, simple list for me. When I heard 1979, I thought it was a pretty, I don't know, it wasn't as tough as I thought it was. If you could have picked some other years, but it was fun. I'm glad.
So many
I
good-
like doing these year episodes. I think it's a lot of fun to revisit times gone by. And thanks for having me on the show again tonight.
As
Hell
always,
yeah.
Steve.
And it made me dig out the old Clyde McCoy, especially when
Yeah.
Butch said it's worth a lot of money. It is. How much is it worth to you?
Nice.
That's awesome.
As the offers start piling up in the comments section.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I right here have one of those original Clyde McCoy.
If
Dating
that's
starts at.
If that's original 60s, Chris, that's got to be worth about $500 at least.
Yeah, it is. It's an original.
Very
It's an
cool.
original.
All right, Mr.
Someone
Scow.
mentioned Pink Floyd, the wall here.
All right, I got myself and Nick, so I'll go through mine real quick, then I'll go through Nick's. So Rich was actually talking about the stuff his parents played growing up. And that year, talking about these bands, the three bands I remember hearing as a kid all the time was from my mom. She played Foreigner, Fleetwood Mac, and the Police. And all three of those bands had big albums.
Us. Yeah.
So
Sure.
I'm going to start at number 5. I want to dig up an obscure band. I don't know if anybody's heard of, because it wouldn't be me if I didn't do that. So, I love a lot of like more the epic 80s metal, like Manila Road, Sirith Ungol, Omen, Lord, Fate's Warning, all that shit. Before any of those bands existed, there was a little band from Connecticut. They only put out one album in '79, and they fucked off forever. But the album's great. The band was called Legend, and the album's called From the Fjords. And it's
John
like
Gaffney.
Good pick.
it's the first epic metal, like kind of that sound, like that epic triumphant, like Man of War style metal band ever, as far as I know, from the States. It's still got a lot of like 70s rock, has like a lot of more jammy kind of stuff in it. It's not like all pounding metal, because you didn't really get a lot of that in '79. But for the year, there's a lot of that sound in this album. It's really cool. It was out of print for a billion years, so
Yeah.
for a while a lot of people didn't hear of it, but they reissued it. Now it's on CD and vinyl again. Great album. Like if you like those kind of bands, you like Men of War, like that kind of sound, Omen, a lot of those metal blade bands, Liege Lord, yeah, you'd like these guys a lot. So that was From the Fjords, 1979 Legend from someplace in fuck off Connecticut. I don't know, a little tiny part. Cool band.
It's a great
Number
town.
4. So everything else is
There's
I think I
someone in
drove- I
Finland
think I
right
drove
now
to that
looking
town a couple
where
weeks
for fuck off Connecticut. Where is that?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Look it on the map.
Exactly.
It might be by New Haven. I don't know. So everything else, I'll go by number 4, obviously. The last album with the great Bon Scott, Highway to Hell, classic songs. Like you said, like you guys said, they were blowing up with this album. It's not my favorite album with Bon Scott. That would probably be Let There Be Rock, Power Age, but this is right up there with it. Like every song on this album.
I saw them on that tour.
Wow. Nice.
I was
with,
lucky.
with Bond, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, every song on this. It's not even worth listening to songs. There's no weak tracks on this album. Number 3 is a great band that I'm surprised not a single person mentioned, but it's Oyster Cult and their album.
I was
Here.
waiting for it.
Yep.
I knew you were going to say it, so I didn't have to. I knew it.
I thought Pete was gonna say it, so I didn't have to.
All right, so
I
I'm-
dig it, but I like some other albums a little bit better, but I like that album a lot.
Nice.
It's not even, well, I like the band so much, I wouldn't even consider it like one of my top 3 or 4 Oyster Cult albums, but it's still an awesome album. The Great Sun Jester, The Vigil, which they
The
still
Vigil.
play live a lot.
Yeah.
Iron
Al
Storm.
Petrelli played in Blue Oyster Cult.
Oh my God.
He did. He was playing keyboards and rhythm and guitar in Blue.
That's
When I
great.
saw them, yeah, he was at Savatage at the time.
What year was that about? Like, what years was he in the band for?
I think that was like '96. He did a summer tour, and who's
Okay.
the bass player was?
Is that when Rondinelli was in the band, Chris?
I think Bobby might have been in the band at the time. The bass player was another good friend of Al's too. I forget which bass player was in at the time. It was another Long Island guy. But Al was playing. I was down in Tampa and I went to see Al at, I think it was the State Theater down there, and Al was playing with them, and he was doing a lot of Hammond solos. Because Al's a really good keyboard player too. He does the really good bluesy Hammond stuff, but it's just funny.
It's my number
I
3.
wasn't
My
in the
number-
band, Al was. So.
My number 2, no surprise. Obviously, I'm going to do a 2 for here because they put out 2 albums the same year. Motorhead Bomber, Motorhead Overkill. I couldn't find my vinyl of this, so now I have to OCD searching for that afterwards. But obviously, some of the most well-known Motorhead songs, some of the best stuff from their best lineup from these 2 albums. Like the self-titled from '77 is obviously great. These 2 are like really where the band cemented their sound, did some of their best work. So got to go with these 2. And of course, number 1, my favorite live album of all time, favorite Judas Priest album of all time. Les fucking Binks. Can't beat it.
That a boy.
Can't beat this album. That's one of the first albums that it's just, I know in the '70s going into the '80s, you had that transition from metal to rock. And some albums had like a little of this. This album's just balls out, pure fucking metal. You know, the rock elements that were like, you know, Rock and Roll still had some, Sad Wings still had some. At this point, they were just a balls out metal band. It's fucking great. So honorable mentions. I know Butch would talk about him, so I left out Black Rose, even though I love that album. It's one of my favorite Lizzie albums. Riot, Narita, and one of my favorite albums by this, I heard a lot as a kid, was Regatta de Blanc by the Police. So I'll go through Nick's real quick. His number 5 was Triumph, Just a Game. His number 4 was, we mentioned several times, great album, one of the best they ever did, Love Drive. Number 3, actually also mentioned Mirrors. So get 2 hits for Blue Oyster Cult tonight, unless Pete brings them up too. Number 2, which only Steve mentioned, I thought this one was going to get a lot of play, but it didn't. It's The Wall. It's a great album. And number 1, he picked Overkill by Motorhead. And his honorable mentions were Bomber and Killing Machine, Hellbent for Leather, which you guys are right. The British release was 78, but the US release was early 79. So that's all I got.
Does anybody know exactly where you hear the wrong note on the Unleashing the Beast records? There's not a lot. That record was really not redone.
Yeah, Sinner.
There's 2. Genocide has one too. You hear there's a Save Me, My People Have Died. There's a wrong note right in that part too. There's a down and there's one of those in Center, which is cool because it's like nobody's live records keep the wrong note. It's like
exactly.
I'm on 2 Savatage. Well, Chris Oliva couldn't fix his stuff. Obviously, he didn't have wrong notes, but you know, it's like I was on 2 Savatage live records and fixed everything in the studio. You know, we didn't replay everything, but you fixed everything. It was like.
And you would think with like all the talk of how much they fixed that Judas Priest Unleashed in the East album that they could have taken that couple extra minutes to fix those couple wrong.
Maybe they left them just on purpose so they could say, you know what, we're going to leave those couple notes.
That's what I always thought. They just left them because it was fucked up.
Yeah,
especially Sinner. It's so obvious in Sinner.
You've heard, you guys have heard the original vocal track from that before they replaced it?
No.
It's all fucked. I heard one bootleg years ago. I mean, the quality of the bootleg sucked, but yeah, his vocals were fucked up. Like, I guess
really?
he was sick that night. Yeah, he had the flu or something, and you could tell he wasn't having a good night. He just, you know, he didn't feel like he was into it, and he kind of was. Yeah, he wasn't hitting a lot of notes.
Yeah.
But you know what? The redone vocals are fucking amazing. So I don't care if they redid the whole thing in the studio.
Yeah,
They are
iconic.
It's still great. All right, I'll do kind of like what Butch did. I'll run through some honorable mentions first. I do want to mention that Pat Travers live album. I forgot to pull it off the shelf, but that's definitely one of them.
Yep.
Paul McCartney and Wings, Back to the Egg. Love that
yes, yes.
album. Got to talk about a little Overkill action. Got to talk about Down to Earth. Here's one that almost made my top 3. I love this album. Adventures in Utopia from Time. Utopia.
God. Oh, yes. Oh my God! Oh, Jesus Christ!
Amazing album.
All right, you're right there.
Last of the New Wave Writers. Come on.
Supertramp, Breakfast in America. Love it. And my last honorable mention, Mr. Universe by Gillan. Such a heavy cranking album with some kick-ass Bernie Torme on it.
Yes,
now,
sir.
my top 3, 2 have been mentioned before. The other one did not. My number 3 is Stormwatch by Jethro Tull. Love this album.
Ooh.
Last album of their kind of like what they call their progressive folk era, but it's not really folky at all. It's actually pretty rocking and heavy. Unleashed in the East, of course, number 2. And number 1 has got to be Strangers in the Night. I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that. That's you know, one of my favorite live albums of all time. And I didn't mention ZZ Top to Gayo, which is another.
Ah, fuck. You're right.
You know.
God damn it. I knew I forgot something.
And you know, there's some that you guys mentioned that you know, the Thin Lizzy and Van Halen and AC/DC. Molly Hatchet, Flirt with Disaster, Kansas.
Yeah, Molly Hatchet.
Yeah. Journey, Triumph. I mean, REO Speedwagon, Steve Hackett. I had all this stuff on my list. Whitesnake, Love Hunter, Night in the
Zeppelin. That didn't come up on anybody's list either.
Yeah, that's another one too.
Or
not one of my favorites.
First Saxon album.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
If I could find my Strangers of the Night CD, I had it on me when we were traveling, when you used to have to travel with CDs. And Savatage wound up doing a show with UFO when Schenker came back to the band for a little bit. And Schenker and Pete and Phil, they signed that my Stranger in the Night CD. I just don't have any freaking idea where it is, because you know, it's like we all had those CD things that had them all in it, and I just don't know which one that wound in, or it could have wound up in another CD when I took it out of that. So somewhere is a fully autographed Strangers in the Night, and I can't find it. But
Probably up on eBay somewhere selling for
no, it's somewhere in this house with everything else I can't find, but it's here.
And a demo came out that year. It's just a demo, but it's a demo of my favorite band of all time, Soundhouse Tapes by Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
No.
And the Def Leppard EP came out in
And Def Leppard
79.
EP too, yeah.
Yeah.
79 was a good year, it sounds like here.
Yeah, it's a great year.
Yeah.
Great year.
Very cool. Well, I want to thank everybody for watching us tonight. And of course, as always in the comments, list your favorite releases from 1979. It's a jam-packed year. There's so many great ones that we didn't even mention tonight, right? So put them in the comments below. We'll be checking them all out. And I want to thank John Gaffney, Chris Caffery, and Rich Catino for joining us tonight and filling in for some of our regulars who could not make it tonight. So thanks once again. I want to thank Butch and Lynn and Steve and Ryan, and visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, of course, we're here on YouTube
All the damn time.
Chris Caffery, how is that new Spirits of Fire album coming out? Before we let
It's
you go?
coming out good. I I spent the last 2 weeks editing my rhythm guitars because I got Zonder's drums, and I did all my tracks after I got them, and I was playing along with a lot of his drum fills, doing guitar riffs that were not part of what I wrote, but just to play along with the fills and add parts. And when you do that to a bunch of different songs, and I was doing 2 or 3 different stereo rhythms for each song, so I was getting into songs, and I had 6 different tracks, and I had to line them up perfectly. And so I'm pretty much brain dead, but my rhythms are done, and a few of my leads, and the rest of the leads should be done in the next few weeks. I still am waiting to hear a lot of the vocal stuff. I mean, a lot of people know because Ripper had said he wasn't doing this record, so we have somebody else, and I'm not announcing who until Frontiers wants to make that announcement. But it's coming out cool. I'm excited about it because I think the guitar riffs and the music on this one are something everybody's going to be really excited about, because as far as me, I'm happy about what I contributed to this one a lot. I think it's really, really cool metal. So I'm
Are you
looking
guys
forward to it.
shooting for a release later this year? Or is this going to be held?
Yeah,
back?
hopefully sometime later in the summer. I know everybody's been rambling now, obviously, since Oliva put out his talking about us working. We are working on some new Savatage stuff. So, I mean, I don't know exactly what the plan is with that, but we're working on stuff. And there's actually a slight possibility that Mr. Oliva will be here, maybe to be on the Hudson Valley Squares with me in the next month, because he might be coming up to do some work with me and
Nice.
working in my studio and hanging out in the Silver Dollar. So we might have a John Oliva
Cool.
site. So that'll be kind of fun. That'll be different.
Yeah.
We'll get him his own little screen and have him there. He's very funny. So if you get John in the right mood, he'll keep everybody laughing. And I actually remembered it was Danny was playing bass when that was going on. What was his last? Danny Torrey? Was Danny's last name? He was the bass player at Blue Oyster Cult at that time. Danny was playing. That was Al's friend Danny. I'm not great with last names, but he was in it. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting year. I actually decided to kind of put my solo record on hold because, when you're writing so many different things at once, they all start to sound the same. So I want to, finish Spirits and then focus only on Savatage and then do my thing once it's all done, so that everything I'm not like using the same material for different things. And it's good though. It's exciting. There's a lot of different things going on, and we'll see what happens. I mean, we're going to, there's no official word or plan on Savatage, but we are working. And that's, something that John had said, so I'm allowed to say it without everybody losing their mind. It's like, yeah, we're working and writing, and we're going to see what happens. So that's a pretty exciting thing. It's been 20 years since the last Savatage record was released 20 years ago in 2001. So that's
Damn, I'm old.
it's a little bit too long, I would say.
Well, better late than
old.
never, right? So that's cool.
Exactly.
John, what do you got coming out in your channel in the coming weeks?
I'm about to hit 1,000 subscribers. I'm like eight
right.
people away from that. Just doing my thing, reviewing stuff. I did my 10 favorite rainbow recently. I did Zappa Shake Your Booty recently. So, just keeping it going.
Cool. Awesome. Steve, how about over on Rock Fantasy Files?
Well, I just did an interview with the band Artillery earlier today, which will be going up this week. Tomorrow night, we're doing a panel on
Artillery.
Great band.
Artillery. Yeah, we did Artillery. Tomorrow night, we're doing a panel on Ghost. Wednesday night, we are doing Merciful Fate, a panel on Fate. Thursday this week is a very busy week. I'm interviewing Hans, the drummer from Savatage, and we're going to talk about what's going on in their camp. And Saturday, we are doing a panel on Immortal, and we have a special guest, Mia Winter-Wallace from Abbott, that's going to join us, along with some others. And then Tony Dolan is going to be joining us on Saturday afternoon for his project called Sabatanero, which is a bunch of musicians from all different bands doing a Black Sabbath covers, and guys from Venom, I know Sacred Reich, Obituary, the list goes on. I can't even do it justice by talking about it right now, but and I think a lot of it is going to charity, and it's something that it's like another one of these pandemic projects that's going on. And next week we were supposed to be delving into some other stuff, but that's way too many things already. So.
All right, so I Googled it just so I had it correctly. It was Danny Miranda. That was his last
Danny
name.
Miranda,
Yeah.
He was in the band, or
Well, I don't know. When he was in the band, he called up Al when I was there to have him fill in and do some stuff. So that's how I knew. It's like I knew Danny Torrey was the drummer in a different band that I knew when I was younger. It's too many people, too many years. I can't remember. But I just wanted to correct that so nobody was listening and seeing it.
I'm also working
plays
on
on a newest
setting up-
album. He's still in the band.
Ah, okay. All right. Yeah. So that's it. Dan. I haven't seen him in a long time. So
I was
he's
working
great-
on an
he's a great bass
episode.
player, man. Great bass
Working on an episode for the Orange County Fair Speedway from the concert series too. We're working on putting that together now. I got a few people that work there and whatnot, so that's something we're looking on down the road. And Fairgrounds does plan on having concerts this summer. They booked the Blackberry Smoke. They're selling tickets for that in July, so they got their fingers crossed. Couple other big names I can't mention that they told me they have booked, if it happens, some decent sized concerts coming back to the fairgrounds this summer.
I think Tyler Bryant's opening up for Blackberry Smoke, isn't he? I think he might be.
That's possible. I
think
can tell
he
you.
is. I think he is.
I can tell you off the record later if you want to message me who else they've got planned on.
But if Tyler does play and anybody gets a chance to see him, that kid's brutal. He actually grew up in the same hometown and went to high school with Kayla Reeves from TSO, and they knew each other since they were little kids. But Tyler's a bad guitar player. He really is. And his girlfriend or wife or whatever, she's really good too. She's got that Lauken Poe or whatever, those two sisters. She's a freaking amazing guitar player, that girl, the one in that band. But
they're cool.
Mentioning guitar
Cool.
players.
Rich, how about what's new on your end?
A few of the reviews that I did for Brave Words just went up, like the Smith Kotzen album, the Tigers of Pantang compilation that's coming out in a month. A couple other things I forgot right now. Doing an interview with one of the artists from the Dio comic, the Holy Diver comic, for the Metal Asylum Facebook page. That's going to be tomorrow. And we're doing our Tigers of Pantang album ranking on Sunday too, coming up.
We are.
Nice.
And then Praying Mantis the following week.
That's right. It's a new
Nice.
wave of British heavy metal Sundays, 2 Sundays in a row.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Very cool. Lynn, Butch, you want to plug anything while we're here before we go?
My Vicious Moments page, you can follow it on Instagram at vicious_moments or on Facebook at Vicious Moments. I post everything from motivational, inspirational stuff to songs to music to whatever, but I'm also working on an actual professional blog, a money-making blog. That's more kind of motivational stuff. And I'm writing a book. So you can like any of that stuff. Hopefully that's going to start to go well.
And me, I just have my my butcher shop group that everyone has taken over pretty much. It's
Yeah.
it's at 2,100 members, so thank you for doing that. And it is a hard rock and metal group. So anybody that's new that jumps in and gets involved, you will see what that means, from people that were posting the Jam and Pink Floyd and Bruce
Jack
Springsteen.
Wagner.
That was pissing me off and having me go on tirades about shit. Come join the Butcher Shop group a hard rock and heavy metal place to hang out.
Is
On
Gary
Facebook.
Moore hard rock? You think that's hard rock?
What?
Gary Moore's like hard rock.
Oh, yeah.
Gary Moore?
Yeah,
Of
he's all
course.
hard rock.
I mean, he got to the blue stuff later, but I only talk about the hard rock stuff.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say.
It's just a place to have fun. So yeah, come and get involved and be part of the fun.
Yeah, and then you'll have Butch threaten you if you post.
Oh,
something
there's
like
no
that.
threatening. I will yell at you when you post
Liar.
something that doesn't fall within the parameters of what I set the goddamn group to be. So if you come in and you post something about Donna Summer,
Oh. Oh,
expect
man.
a comment
Looking
from
for
me.
some hot stuff, baby. This
Oh, here we
evening.
go.
I know.
It's coming.
It'll be as soon as we get done, it'll be comments all over it now.
Hell yeah.
If we can connect it to Kiss Dynasty, then maybe we could do it.
See, you know what? And honestly, that's exactly what I said to somebody. If you want to be smart, connect it to
Yes.
something and then get
Yeah.
that post in there. Don't come out and make something about the jam. Make something about something
Oh,
and then get it
man.
out sideways. Then that's funny. But just making a post about Pink Floyd and a metal group.
Wait,
Ugh.
just wait.
Just wait.
Love you, people. Thank you.
And Ryan's got a few free spots on that jacket. So if anybody wants to send Ryan a free gift of some cool, like
Hey,
international obscure,
Yeah.
Love it.
and he is.
But-
But you got to show us where you have a spot. How big of a patch can it fit? Where you got it?
I think this is the biggest piece of real estate on the whole jacket. All
I've got a corn patch at the store I could send you.
right, go home, Steve.
I'm gonna
not
send
for
Rich a
nothing,
Deftones
but
one too.
by the time next week comes, I'm gonna be 50. No, in 2 weeks, the
No, you won't. Shut
23rd.
the fuck up.
No, we need to have a little birthday celebration. So go F yourself.
Is your birthday the 23rd?
It's the 23rd.
Awesome.
And Butch's is May 1st, but not that anyone cares.
That's the same. My dog's
Wow.
birthday is May 1st. So you know,
Exactly.
No wonder.
My
See,
dog,
no
and
wonder.
Butch, my dog and Butch share the same birthday. My mom's
Exactly. They can go on a date.
No wonder I ask about Major all the time. See?
Birthday party at the backyard of Caffery's, I guess.
There you go.
Hey,
No, but I'm accepting
anybody
gifts,
who's
so-
got the second shot is welcome to come over. So I'm
Oh,
already
I'm
done.
vaccinated.
I've been
I'll
done
have
for
mine
2
soon.
I'm
weeks.
sterile.
The
I'll
Silver
have mine
Dollar is open to those with vaccines. All
Oh, yes, I got my card.
right.
Cool.
Don't
All right,
forget-
that's a wrap, everybody. So thanks for joining us. Remember,
Nice.
in the comments below, list your favorite 1979 albums for Chris and John and Rich and Lynn and Butch and Steve and Ryan and Nick and Sydney and the other Chris. I am Pete Pardo. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.